touch screens and boards? What did you do to deserve that?
Yeah, that's all I need. I could just move right on in.
All right, well, the good news is we got a doubleheader coming your way, and the Lake Show is tipping off against the Thunder to start our games. And if you are talking about LA, you already know that they've locked up that #1 seed, but it's still a key game for Oklahoma City. They're battling out with the Jazz and the Rockets for the 4th spot in the West. Who would have thought we'd be even saying that when this season started? And as I said, the Lakers, for the first time since 2010, they do have that #1 seed. And the last time we saw the Lakers, we saw LeBron and AD come together to have at least 60 points. So they seem to be working pretty well together. I think the question is, who is the most important piece of that puzzle, Jalen? I mean, who has to be cranking on all cylinders the entire time they're in the bubble in order to make it to a championship or the finals?
This is an easy answer. It's not Danny Green, who's supposed to give him defense and knockdown shooting. He's a 2-time champion. His opportunity is going to come and go. It's not KCP who's going to give him quality minutes and hustle on defense. It has to be Kyle Kuzma. There's a reason why they did a big deal with the Pelicans and wanted to hold on to a guy that they drafted late in the first round. He outplayed expectations. It became a better prospect in a lot of ways than a couple of guys that got drafted earlier. Now, Ingram went on to the Pelicans to prosper. He had his chance to be a member of a big three with LA this year, but he got hurt.
Yeah.
Remember, this summer. So he wasn't able to practice with LeBron and AD, and then the season started. They started playing well, and before you know it, he was a substitute. So he has the ability to score the basketball really when it gets going with the best of them. So Kyle Kuzma is my answer.
Yeah, well, Avery Bradley, we know that he opted out. Family matters is what he cited. So that means that every single guard that you add back to the roster is very important. Remember Rondo, he was out for 3 weeks with that fractured thumb. But Dave McMenamin is reporting he's back in the bubble now, so that 7-day quarantine can start for him. Uncle P, the importance that Rondo could play on this team, especially considering they need everyone on the bench at this moment in time.
I mean, we all know what playoff Rondo brings, and he just takes a lot of pressure off LeBron. When I look at the Laker team, when LeBron comes out the game, they don't really have a lot of playmaking. Yeah, they got scores in Anthony Davis, Kyle Kuzma, he can make some shots, Deion Waiters, J.R. Smith. But they need somebody who can set them up in the offense, somebody who can create offense for others by driving into the lane. Look at this, providing easy opportunities for Anthony Davis. We already know when they was in New Orleans how that combination went, constant lobs to AD. So he's very important to them. Now, Rondo is not going to have the stats that's going to just yell at you, but we know when playoff Rondo show up, he's a different player. And they're going to need him very much in the playoffs without having Avery Bradley.
And also, Truth, what about the fact that there always needs to be somebody on the squad that can make life easier for your best players? When the last time somebody else penetrated and gave LeBron James an open three, or somebody else dropped the lob to Anthony Davis? Rondo could be that guy. But the reason why I chose Kyle Kuzma is he could be the guy to score 30 points in a game.
No, but that's
we saw him do it last year against Philadelphia, for example.
Pressure on a guy who's never played.
All right, guys,
playoffs.
so the Sixers.
So come on.
The game that we're getting to are Lakers and Thunder. Uncle P, I want you to take a look at highlights here. We've got the Wizards and the 76ers playing right now, and I just want to give you an update. Joel Embiid, 3rd straight game with 25 points already, and he's the guy that they've been going to a lot, the superstar you said that has to step up for the 76ers.
Absolutely, and so many people are like, what is it like for NBA players to not play in front of fans? Joel Embiid, to me, is a prime example of a guy who normally feeds off the crowd so very well. So when he's not getting into it with opponents, it seems like he's getting into it with teammates.
Well, you guys see Ben Simmons walking off there. We're told that it's a left knee. He will not return to this game. And right now, the 76ers up just 10 on top of the Wizards. Obviously, every single game that they play matters. They're playing for seeding at this moment. Uncle P, what would you say you've seen from Philly so far in the bubble?
Man, I've seen inconsistency, and I'll tell you why they've been inconsistent. It's because they have a lack of leadership. If the 76ers are going to have a shot at getting to the finals, Joel Embiid is going to have to turn in Hakeem Olajuwon 1995 type performance when we saw the underdogs, Houston Rockets, and Dream carried them all the way to the finals. And capable of that? I don't know, but they lack the leadership, man. When I see your best player getting into it with other players in the middle of everybody and nobody else stepping in, and that's huge because when I see teams like Oklahoma, who probably isn't as talented but has great leadership in Chris Paul, and that's the reason they're at where they're at right now.
And also, P, that's identity. every night OKC is going to show up to play hard. When you look at Philadelphia, they have 2 perennial all-stars. You have Tobias Harris is going to play like an all-star, and Al Horford is a seasoned vet. On paper, it seems like the Sixers should play defense, but they don't. The last couple of fourth quarters, they've given up over 40 points inside of the bubble. And the other thing, and Doug Collins used to always talk to me about this, the game is so hard when you can't shoot. And to have Embiid in the paint and Ben Simmons in the paint, they're going to need somebody to space the floor. They had that last year. They allowed that to leave this offseason.
Well, one thing that I'll always say is that we feel as though the 76ers should be playing great, and if they could play the games on paper, Jalen, right, we might feel completely different about the team that they show up and are. All right, we'll keep an eye on that game for you and keep you updated on what Philly is doing, but it's time now for tonight's three-point performance presented by Mountain Dew. The Pacers shot 39% in a win against the Magic on Tuesday. They were led by who, Jalen?
Cash considerations warned.
Since the restart, he's made 14 three-pointers, the most over a 3-game span in his career. He's putting up Uncle P numbers out there, Paul.
Yes, he is.
Yes.
Man, he got him back on his jersey.
All right, coming up on NBA Countdown, we're trying to get you set for Game 1. We've got the Lakers and Thunder coming. These are the workouts that Uncle P did before he walked into his presidential studio. Just hopped on the exercise ball, made sure he was ready to rock and roll.
Clippers now up 6. Now it's an 8-point advantage when Kawhi comes off the screen. Clippers go 14-1 over a 4:55 period of the quarter. Lakers at the other end. Cross-court pass to AD from distance. He had 32 points in the first 3 quarters. Boom, give him another one. So let's go to the 4th. Lakers back up in front now by 2. LeBron going to drive. Everyone goes to him. Who's he find? Kyle Kuzma in the corner at 16 points, 4 threes off the bench. Next Lakers possession. LeBron, little help from Dwight Howard, knocks down a 3. Lakers bump their lead back up to 8. Not a great shooting night from LeBron, but more on him in a moment. Kawhi, little space over Danny Green. Give him 3 of those. He had 28 points. Clippers cut it to 6. And then Kawhi hung in the air, gets the ball back, and PG knocks it down. Back the other way. How will LeBron respond? Lakers up 1. Hard to get in front of them, hard to stay in front of them. 3-point advantage now. Paul George with Danny Green on his right side, didn't matter. Knocks it down. So now it's a tie game. 17 seconds to go. LeBron throws it up, thought he got fouled, followed his own miss, and gave the Lakers a 2-point advantage. Look at this. Most go-ahead field goals in the final 20 seconds over the last 20 seasons. LeBron now has 20. Kobe and Melo lead the way with 27. So is it Kawhi? He gets stopped by LeBron. Then LeBron switches over to PG. Decent look. Thought he got fouled, but you're not going to get that call, especially the first game of the restart, like that's ever been written down, but I'm going to call it, Boots. You're not getting that the first game of the NBA restart.
I like it.
But again, good defense by LeBron, and look at the awareness. One of the smartest guys that's ever played basketball, seeing what the shot clock, what the time clock was, being able to put pressure on George, and that is the shot. Lakers win it, 103-101. Yo, fellas, what was it like?
I love having the ball in my hands, late in the game. Tie game, being down, being up. We had a 3-point game with like 40 seconds to go. We got a great look for Danny. He missed it. Paul George came back and hit a 3 to tie the game. And for me, just try to be aggressive. I feel like I got some contact at the elbow, by Marcus Morris. They didn't call it, but like you was told when you was a kid, since I started playing basketball, if there's no whistle, you keep playing on. So I was able to follow my shot and, put us up for good.
It felt like a real game to me. 2 teams battling. Obviously, it's always a good game between us two teams. And, the more and more that we used to this